Hi, Jumpy. Hi, Raul. Pre-warning. I have a fan pointed at my PC because of the sun. It's too hot in here, and if I don't do this, I think my PC will overheat, and I will die. So apologies if my sound is weird. I've been told it's not, but we shall see. But how's it going? How are you, John B?
Hello.
How are you, Raul? Hello, Panda. How's it going? Don't hear anything different? Oh, nice. Nice. I have my mic settings correct, I guess. Hi, Ozzy. Oh yeah, Raul, when is your birthday month? When is Raul birthday month? November. I see. There's a new update for roadside research. Oh, what is it? What is the update? I saw it had an update, but I didn't look at it. Roadside research. Easter content.
Hello.
Hello, dragon. Wait, Easter content? No, what? There, more alien, more sim update. What does that mean? What do I mean? Upgraded alien room, a data analyzer minigame. Loyal pet Greg. I see. 9 new items for like to sell. Ew. What? I don't like some of these item names. What the heck? Why knowing your birthday month? Wait, what? Part of you does want to last minute change New Vegas out for something else because the Final Fantasy 16 brain rot. This Final Fantasy 16? Am I dumb? Final Fantasy 16? Oh, the online one. Okay. Wait, that's 14? My brain. It is. What? 2010? Wait, what? Excuse me? Yeah, I can read Roman numerals. It's just hot and I'm dumb. Alright? Okay, so there's some new cosmetic-y items too. Ah. A new anti-motion sickness setting too. Nice. And 3 new outfits. Nice. Nice. What you described is genuinely your method for how to read Roman numerals. Yes. That's how you read it. Like 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1 is 3, and then 1 before 5 is 4, then it's 5, and then 5, 1, 1 is 7, X is 10, L is 50, C is 100, M is 1,000. If I play roadside research anytime soon, let you know. Oh, Maybe Friday? If people are available Friday? Yeah, I got Gamble with Friends cheaper because I already had Roadside Research. Hey! You never shared your group's raid clear? I don't know what. Like a time? Yeah, it's Noita time. You can forsake Tekken for funny alien game? Listen. Why not both? Let's just fight each other in alien game. But yes, we're playing Noita because why not? I guess I didn't know what to play, and this was just staring at me. So let's go back to Noita. Hi, Quantum. How's it going? I didn't even see the treat. Holy shit! Thank you, Tomb. My chocolate is still melty. Okay. So, I did a little bit of research. Not a lot. A little bit. What do I have? What do I have? Swamp. A bomb and this. Okay. So, I did a tiny bit of research. We're gonna... Wait, can I... Oh, maybe. I'll do this. Gotta empty it. Because I need water. Something's exploding. Right. Yep. Fill with water. Not swamp. I don't want swamp. I don't want swamp. A game of their people? Oh yeah, I forget that this is a finished game. Oh yeah, hang on, let me pause this. I have voting on. I'm trying to remember how you vote. I think you literally just type in the number that you want, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then it will vote. I don't think you need a command or anything. I think you literally just go 1 and it'll vote. Okay? Okay. Okay. I'm okay. I'm just hot. It's very hot here in the UK. It's telling me it's 32 degrees. I have a fan pointed at my computer because otherwise it'll overheat. And ow, it's very hot to touch. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I am. Oh, you love the practical demonstration? I wanted to check it, but the thingy that covers my ventilation thing is made of metal, so I touched it and immediately burnt my hand. Anywho, right, so I need this to fill up with water. I need water. Just water. Yeah, I looked up a little bit and it said make sure you have water. So I have water. Water. Okay. Would people rather I put on the silly voices? Or would people rather I just speak in my normal British voice? Because I like both. I say things dumb. And then I also just am British. What do I have? Hello? Oh, this one. Hello! Jen, look what I'm doing! I'm doing the thing! Jen, I'm back! Mushrooms. Things are exploding. Feels roomy in here. What does that mean? I'm back, baby! Gimme. Dealer's choice. Oh. Right. Whoa! What is that? That's a bit rude. Ah. I want that gold. Hey, I got it. Oh, and there's a wand. Oh, okay. Okay. Normal British voice, says the Welsh person. Listen, I don't speak Welsh.
Did I jump scare you?
No, because I was looking at chat. I need to change this, I think. I need to change it from moist to something else. How long has it been? I can tell you. I can tell you how long it's been. Just give me a couple seconds. I'm sorry! Let's see. Noita. Where is it? Badoop. Bubble boy. No, you shush. It has been nearly a year. The 4th of June was the last time I played it. 4th of June last year. I'm sorry, Tomb. Can I... No? Can I... What the fuck? Huh. Okay. I got a new wand. I don't really know what I'm to do with it, but okay. So yeah, I looked some stuff up. We'll see how it goes. What's this? Oil. You. More oil? Nothing. There's a new 007 game? Ooh, what? I can refill my thing. Sploosh. Oh my god, it's still raining. Hmm. No! Ah, rude. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Help. Come on. Die, bitch. Die, bitch. Die, bitch. Die. No! You're supposed to die! Alright. What did I see? Let me eat this? What am I eating? Or am I drinking the water? Oh, okay. Hey. I watched like a very, very tiny, playthrough. Not playthrough, like a strategy thing. Noita Pro Strats. Oh my god! Alright. It's all good. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so it said, oh, who we got? The Jen and Quantum! Yeah! Friends! Which way? No. Went the wrong way. So, it said carry water at all times. And, try and explore the mines until you have about 600, monies. Gold. Can I get some more? No. Yakuza Mahjong? What's wrong with Mahjong? I love Mahjong. There's a worm somewhere. I can see worm trail. There, it was like explore this place as much as you can. Get 600 monies before you move on. And collapsed mines. 600 is good to have. Staying alive is more important. Yeah, I know. These worm trails. Uh-oh. Yeah, blow yourself up. Oh, hello. Thanks. You saved my life. I know gold? Okay. Hey, I got him. Check memes. In mine or yours? Memes. Best Mahjong strategy tip. Quit. What's wrong with Mahjong? I love Mahjong. I love it. What's wrong with Mahjong? Is it terrible in the Yakuza games? What? You don't understand it? What? Did you show me the little video you did? I don't think so. I may need more context, but I don't know. Oh, that's not what I want to do. No. You showed me... What was it? Yeah, your new background. You sent me that. Okay, God. What is this? Ah. That was so loud. I muted it for the stream because I wasn't sure what it was. But show it live? Okay. I only just read that. Read that. Fuck. My brain. How do I... If I do this, and then I do this... This? Boom. Bada boom. Ow. Hey! It worked. Alright. I will just say warning headphone users. Because that hurt me. Ow. There's also shogi. I don't know what that is. Zombie! Zombie! I don't know what words are. You're making up words. Shogi. Shogi. Japanese chess. Alright. I don't know how to play regular chess, so is that an issue? You made it at 2 a.m.? Why? Why 2 a.m.? What the? Uh-huh. Oh, I don't know what I'm looking at, so I don't... What am I looking at? Mm-hmm. I don't. How do I not know how to play chess? I'm a British white girl who was raised on video games and spite. I have been debating doing a learn to play chess stream because so many people are like, you can't play chess, what the fuck? And I'm like, no. Why can't I move? I'm slippery. I'm too slippery. Ooh. Hey. Bink. I will get you. You'll climb up and I'll smack. Hey, that was someone else. That was one of my ghosts. Hey guy, jump. Jump. I had to do it to him. What? Oh. Hey. Hey guy. Ooh. Ooh. Stuff. What is this? Visibilium. Sure. What is this? What is exploding? Chest did not help with Shuggy. Something is exploding a lot. What is this? Toxic sludge. Ow. Alright. Can I just... Hey, I can! Nice. Now we wait. Well, that sludge is gonna come down. Oh, it's fine. It's turning into water. Because of this steam? Am I boiling the sludge out of it? What is this? Bubble. I don't think I want Eldritch Portal. I feel like it's just gonna hurt me rather than help me. I want the wand. But I don't want the... Yeah. Alright.
Hello!
Hello, Sherlock! How's it going? Ba-ba-ba-bum. I'm in Noita again! I don't want to go in there. Not yet. Trail of acid? I don't want to leave a trail of acid. Whoa! Maybe I do. Is he gonna die? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna die? Die? Just pour acid down there. That'll work. You have mango sorbet? Share. That's rude. Right. Eh. He dead down here? I don't know. I can't tell. I really can't tell. What the fuck? Where'd he go? I'm stuck in here now. Oh, no, I'm not. Ah! Here I am. Yeah. Alright, oh. Hello? What do you see? What is it, lassie? Oh, more frog. Go get him! Hey. Hi, Asta! How's it going? Yeah, I'm back in this. Hey. Oh yeah, this is where the deep fryer comes from. Well. Now the turntables. Can I go through this little hole? No. Pink. What? Rude. No! Don't you dare. Hey. Nice. Pink. No! No! Rude. Rude. How is Noita? Well, I've, let's see. Total deaths, 275. And I have 0 wins. So, I can't save. This is not a game to save it. Noita is hard. What the heck? What is this? What is this? Why is this? What? What is this? Why is this? How many hours do I have? Runs to Steam. 52.8. Hi, Renryu. Wait, what? Is it Noita? I don't know. I'm still another 50 hours from a win. Yeah, I know. I'm a ways off. But I got some pretty good, pretty good progress on this. I think. I found 3 secrets. I don't know if that's a good thing. Noita. Yeah, I was gonna say it's whatever the Finnish pronunciation is. Because I don't speak Finnish? Brain? Is the language called Finnish? Language? Language spoken in Finland. Finnish and Swedish. Ah. Finnish. Shush. The 3 Sami languages. Ah, cool. I didn't forget you lived there. I'm just stupid. Don't tell them they speak Swedish. I mean, it's... If there's... What? Don't tell them that they can speak Swedish? Or that what? Whoop! Mines! Ba-ba-ba-bum. Nah. Nah. Oh, it's damp. It's damp. Ah. What the? Come on. Hey. Oh. No. No, 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 no. 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 No! Oh, I forgot they did that. Oh shit. Hey. Oh. Well, I got him. Where did the money go? Where'd his money go? Did it fall down too? I don't like the Gigasaur blades. They suck! Oh. What is this? Whiskey? Wait, what? What? What did I miss? Captain, you love learning ways to piss off specific demographics. Why? Why? Being in voice chat with Asylum and Mixu. One of several Finnish people in your life. Mixu saying... Vitu mercy? Asylum asks what it means. That's a fucking mercy. Oh my god. Why? Why? Scandinavia can hate on each other. Finns dislike Swedes. So like how like the Simpsons bit where Willie's like, it's like Englishmen and Scots and Welshmen and Scots and Scots and other Scots. Damn Scots. They ruined Scotland. Like that. Yeah, Captain Booty. Okay, back to game. Drunk. Circle of Stillness. Fine. Ha, bitch! I'm just drunk now. What is this? Visibilium in oil. Nah. It's so loud. Why is it so loud? I don't turn my headset down. Oh no! No, no, no! Oh. Rude. Oh, hello. Pew. 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 Pew, pew. Scots and Welsh both bond over flipping the bird to England. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair dues. The 50-hour comment wasn't a dig. No, no, no. I fully know. Can I see? I can't. Can I? No. Nope. Yeah, I have like 275 deaths and 0 wins, so it's I fully expected this to be a very grindy game. I guess unless you know what you're doing. But I just kind of piss about a lot doing that. Oh, you have a gun. What are you? Come down. I'll hurt you. Come down. Come on. Right. See? Wouldn't have hurt you if you came down. Right. Let me in! Let me in! Let me in! I can go around, can't I? I'm just being stupid. See, this is what I like to do. Just nearly kill myself all of the time. There's nothing here! Alright. Alright. Yeah, I haven't played this in like a year, so I'm very rusty. And yet my whole Discord server and fucking aesthetic is based on this fucking game. Look at this shit. The only reason I'm still deep fryer is because of this. Finns love making weird, hard, and sadistic games. Do they? Armor 3? Wait, what? Oh, right. Wait, what? Hello, Sly! Am I trying to get all the achievements? Are there achievements in this? There are. I have 2. I have 2 achievements. I reached the snowy depths and I reached the coal pits. Nice. Cool. Bonk. Whoop, whoop, whoop. What's this? Wood. Okay. Hi. The Steam achievements aren't very good for tracking progress. I mean, they're nice to look at. They give you that little bit of dopamine. Why are you so fast? Why are you so fast? Not fast enough. Fireball! No, magic missile. God damn it. Thought it was fireball. I got excited. Meow. Nope. What is it? What? Poison trail, projectiles. Okay, that's fine. Boom. Why is it purple? Let's go boom. What was this? Boom. Sure. You think I'll hate the... Wait, what? Crowd control, Noita when? It's on right now. What do you mean? It's on. Beam! Is this what I need to break through walls and shit? What are my thoughts on backseating? I'm fine with that. I am completely fine with that. Jen helped me a year ago, and so did Raina's. They both helped me with Noita. Like, for the crowd control is definitely not on. Yes, it is. What do you mean? Oh, wait, no. Crowd control. No, it's just Twitch integration. What? Wait. So what's the difference between Twitch integration and crowd control? I don't get it. What's the difference? You type in number? What is that? That's a Sunfei emote? Sunfei dead booty? What is this? Why? Why Sunfei? Words. What? Ah! My PC is hot. But yeah, if I make a dumb decision with a wand or do something that you're like, no, why? Don't do that. Then tell me. Because, yeah. Mod is better. Well. I got that one. Right? Wait, have I been this way? I have been this way. I'm stupid. Whee! Ooh. Ooh. Alright. Nope. Nope. Alright. Ah! That was too close. That's too close. Do you imagine this game had CC? I don't know. Oh, no. No! Ah, you bitch! I jumped into it. I'm stupid. Oh, is that just water? Oh, shit. No. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Bonk. Fucking guy. Where is he? Fucking guy. Hey, dead. Nope. Aha! I parried dynamite. Somehow. Wait, what? I don't know. I don't... Wait, can I can use this. I can! Ah! Gimme! Give me gold! Give me the gold. Okay. It sucks. What do you think? A little sucky. Eh. Give me the gold, you bitch! No! Please! Please! Welp. Why is it leaking fire? What? Let's see. Okay. I get it. Oh, gold. I don't wanna... Ow. No! I don't want the fire near the gunpowder. I don't trust it to not kill me. I suppose it'll be fine, maybe. Yeah, gold. Why was there no sound for that? Is it because of this fucking portal? Give me that gold! Yes! Die! Die, you bitch! Watch out! Ow! Rude. Bump. Ow. Oh no. Oh no no. No no no. No no no. Is this your guy's fault? Is this your fault? Is this your doing? It is. You bastards. Not these fucks. Bitch. No. 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 No! Chuck! It was you! Yeah, there you go. Those are my mistakes. Wait, is it? Oh, it is on. Okay. I had to just check something. Yeah, here you go. Okay. I'm gonna try again. All right. Pheromone. All right. Oh, wait. That's fireball. Fireball. God damn it. I don't want pheromone. I want water. E. I just pour it down here. Whee! Down it goes. Bye. Kick. Can I break this? No. Alright. Fine. Alright, so where did all this go? Alright. Let's go this way. I have to keep reminding myself to sit up. Like, I've put my mic at a at a level where I have to sit up to speak into it, so I have to sit up straight. Seeing them, like, yeet themselves across the map. Boop. Hey. Bye. Cook small. I am small. No, bitch! No, leave me alone! Well, he took care of himself. Come on. Oh. Oh. No. Not allowed. Nope. Well, that's a potential problem, but I'm just gonna ignore it and walk away. Fly away, I guess. Oh no, it seems fine. No! Bitch! Not good at aiming still. Teleporting creatures is always a nice one. No, it's not! It's rude. That's what it is. Yeah. Is that a way through? No. She's a rock. Kick. Kick. What? Kick. What? Kick. Hey. I'm just a fucking menace in this game. I can set things on fire. Why didn't you say so? Kaboom! I am on 26 health though. So maybe I should stop. I need water. And he's in love. He's dead. I'll be dead in a minute. Slippery. Alright. What the fuck? Boomba boomba. Hey, oh no! I don't have any water, so I can't really fight him. Cannot fight the flamey man. 356 deaths, 0 tutorial. Oh god! Why you do this to me? Zero tutorial completions? Wait, what? There's tutorials? Am I dumb? Wait. Maybe I am dumb. I wouldn't be surprised if that— Woo! Ah! No! Oh. Okay. You slowly dying in there? His quicker die. Ah! I'm fine. I'm alive. I need the water, but I don't want to deal with you. What's that? This could either be real good or really bad. Do I pour it into the hole? We missed. Hello, I am under the water. Please help me. There's too much swimming. Nope. Come on, come on. What was that noise? Sounded like the fucking kid from the Wild Thornberries. What's his name? Donnie? Leg cramp was your favorite noise. I didn't want to quit. I'm fucking stupid. But I'll just go back to menu. I'm not very smart at the best of times. Alright, new game. Yes. There's no tutorials. What are you talking about, Tadoom? Also, I'm sorry,
lol,
I forgot to-
died. Lol, lol, ooh died. Lol, ooh died. Lol, lol, ooh died. Ham.
The ooh died got me. And then the ham just threw me off. Fucking Christ. Yeah, Tadoom, I'm stupid. I forgot to say welcome in. Hi. How's it going? What do you mean tutorials? What? There's no tutorial. There's new game. Daily run. Nightmare, which I have not unlocked. And I don't think I ever will at this rate. Daily practice run. Is it this? What do you mean? What do you mean tutorials? Is it a mod? You thought the first option was a tutorial? We were. This? New game. The normal victory is often considered the tutorial. I'm sorry. What? Like completing on this mode is the tutorial and then this is the real game? Is that what you're telling me, Dejan? Don't want to quit, I'm stupid. Yeah. Again! No, but also kinda. Alright. That's... doesn't fill me with hope. Nice. I have water. No, first win is tutorial. Quests? 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 Kick. 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 Go forth and smush something for me. How dare you. Betrayal. Ooh, what's this? I don't want to... No, I didn't want to... Ah. Well, that's not good. Whoa. What is that? Oh, that's not fun. Alright. Can I just... Oh, nope. Oop. Ah. Ouch. Although, it did work. Hey! Nope. Hey! Ah. No one saw anything. No one saw anything. Nothing happened. Nothing happened? No one saw it. Brian, you. No one saw anything. People happy. But did it work? It did work! I have the thingies! The weird emote thingies work in my fucking Twitch chat. Sorry. Yeah, writing shit makes an emote in above my head. Oh my god. No one's used one before, so oh my god, it actually floats up as well! You have no idea how happy this makes me. This makes me so happy. Thank you, Tadoom, for showing me that works. Yay! I'm so happy now. Technologia. Technologia. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, wait. Kick. Boot. Smoosh a thing. Do it! Nothing got smooshed. There's some swamp. Smells like soil after rain. Ah, no! Into the swamp. What is this? What is this? Swamp and... what is in the middle? Pete. Oh, Pete. Oh, okay. What's Pete doing there? No. Zombie, did you make a chatsalotl on the emote builder thingy? Is that where that emote come from? Ah! I just summon friendly ghost. We have Tadoom, Renryu, and a Jane. Nice. Kaboom. There's again. Ooh. Okay. I want the gold. Hey. Well. Ooh, is this gold? It is gold. Oh. I'm trying to read. Green slimy meat. Is that from the plant? Zombie being really quiet. Wee quiet for Zombie. No! How dare! Boom. Ah! No, fine, I'll go around. Ah! Uh-oh. What do I have? Brian? Yeah. Gross. Alright. I don't like these. They're just annoying. Mm-hmm. Can I reach? Kinda? No. Ow. 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 What is hurting me? Is it the fire? But I'm wet! Shouldn't hurt me. So rude. Can you not be there anymore? Please? 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 Hey. What is hurting me? What is hurting me? Oh. Oh. Well. Hi, Venus! Look where I am! I'm here again. I'm still not doing too well. But I did fuck all anyway. Hey, oh. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is he doing? He's stuck. I'm stuck! Hey, eat shit. Ah! Not me! Them! Yeah, I'm here again. Oh, cool. Come on. I looked up like one Noita strat video because it's been a while. And then thank you for not doing what you normally do. Yeah. Alright. Right. I just put some normal water in this. Ooh, stuff. Acid ball, speedy movement. Am I that much faster? I don't know. Homebringer, teleport bolt, firebomb, energy orb. Ooh, there's something there though. There is an angel in choices. Sure. Did I just make a big mistake? Possibly. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm slowly dying though. 21. Okay. Go. Nope. Oh, maybe up there. Come on. Come on. Fuck. Get up. Alright. Alright. Come on. Get up. Get up. Nope. Get. Fuck. Get up. Get up. Hey. Right. Nice. Oh. Hey. Plant sentient main? What? You're speaking in riddles. I don't understand. Oh. Oh! Alright. Come on. Come on. Yeah. What's this? Whoa! I'm genuinely blind. I did not see this. I don't want to go in yet. Ow! I don't want to go in yet. I don't know where else I can go though. Can I go anywhere else really? Let's do that. Ooh. More place. Something exploded. Alrighty then. No, up. Hey. Pink. How did that fire get up there? What's going on up here? I'm on fire! No! What's that? It's a deep fryer! I'm home. Nice. He's stuck there. Hey. What are you? Freezing liquid. Sure. Didn't do what I was hoping it would do. Alright. Bye! None of that air fry in here? No. Is that what this is? I guess. To a degree. Right. Give me the water. Give me the water. I need the water. Bink. And bink. Alright. Okay. I need health. I know there's normally at least one around somewhere. Right? I should kick it that way. That should explode? No? Hey! E. What do I get? Plasma cutter. Is that for enemies or for walls and floor? Hi. Bitch. Bitch. What? What over here? Kill ya. Oh. Ah! No! That's cheating! That's cheating! Cheats! I hate this guy. Did he die? No, he's up there. Okay. Something else died. You can die, please. Or not. Oh, nice. Gimme. Gimme, gimme. He's up there. You fighting frogs? He is fighting frogs. What the heck? It is for cutting, but it works on everything. Come on. Come on. Bitch, die, please. Nah. I don't know where he is. I don't want to get closer. Right, bitch. Oh. Oh. Damn it. Alright. I think I I was gonna say I think I'm getting better. I'm learning the weapons. I'm getting better at it than I was. Well, I think. I think I understand more what to do now. And I have the... Oh my god. No! Why are you here? Bitch. Leave. Just kick this down to you? With squish. I don't know where I went. Where he went. Down there, he's somewhere. He's the green. Green glowy boy. Right. Or whiskey. Sure. I'm stuck. Okay. I'm so faced. I don't want to be faced. Kick it! That way! Nice. No, too far. Yeah, sure, whatever. Not encased. Might be encased. And it is encased. Alright. Great. Perfect. Beh. Ow! Rude. Oh, more bomber. The range on the one is kind of bad. Yeah. But... Short-lived magical bolt. Yeah. Ah, bitch! Ah, no! Not in the deep fryer. I don't want to go in there. Bonk. I got more bombs though. That's kind of good. Oh. Wall. Shiny. Bink bonk. Ow. Rude. You bitch. No. That's a wall. Bink. Oh yeah, that guy's still. No. Bitch. Ah, you. Hey. Hey. What's this? Visibilium. Right. Hey. Ba-ba. What is that? Gold. Nice. Gimme. Gotta walk, like, into the ground to pick it up. Who's this? Bitch! Leave me alone! No! Ay, fuck! Bitch! No! Leave me alone! Please! Alright. What the fuck? Ooh, gold. I have to... He died? Yeah! Aha! Nice. Eight projectiles. That should be fine. Oh, look! Death! Oh, look! Right. Ugh. Oh. Ah! I fucked it. I didn't realize I was that. Yeah, I didn't see that I was on 6 HP. I'm sorry, bitch. I had ice in my cup, and oh no, I've got the crystals. Snow? I don't want no snow. I don't want snow. Oh, water though. Is there some... Oh, sometimes there's some fish away, but maybe not. Mushrooms! Alright. I'm not doing that. What do you mean, Sable? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Do I disappoint you? Kick. Kick. Kick.
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did.
God damn it, I need a sound for the posture check. Anti-gravity? Oh no. I see what this is? No. Alright. Ow! Rude. Ow. No. I need to find water. Soonish, actually. Uh-ohs. Ooh, I can eat this. Ah, what? Where did you come from, bitch? Ah! I forgot they would be down there. Alright. God. Game go boom. Game go boom. Snow again? Why? I don't want snow. I don't want it. I don't want the snow. I don't want. I don't want. Alright. Girl had one job. Nuh-uh. come from? What do I got? Circle of shielding. Why is my aim getting worse? Why is my aim getting worse? Ah! Ooh, oh. Hey. You become invincible for some time. Yeah, that's not a good thing to tell me, because I won't realize when it's run out. And I'll just die. What is that? Round. Fun. I'll just all of a sudden be on fire and dying. It's never a good thing for me. Alright. That's slowly leaking into there, which will spill out. Block, 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 block. Somehow blocking fire damage. Being dead is just a late realization. What, that my immortality's run out? Oh, hello. Hey. Nice. Oh, what is this? What did I pick up? Worm pheromone. Yum! Hello. That aim. Oh, hello! I can actually kill you this time. Just dead you. Come on then. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey, he died. Nice. Okay. Bounce burst. I like this one. Hello, housekeeping. Housekeeping? $400. That's $1, isn't it? Yeah, it's $1. Because I know the currency is technically just gold. Oh no! I can be hurt now. See? Told you I wouldn't realize. Can be summoned. Can be thrown to summon a cozy hut. A what? A what? A what? Cozy hut? What that mean? Ooh, water. I need water. Ooh, water. I need water. Get in this little place. Get in this little place. Come on. Come on, come down. Oh no. Goodbye, everything below me. Alright. Okay. Oh. This is the deep fryer. We're home. God damn it, I gotta use my knowledge of maths and angles to... There we go. He's stuck in there? Oh, what's that? Copper. Mate. Oh wait, let me just fill this up first. A. Ba 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 ba. Who is that? Rotsky. What? Rotsky? How do you pronounce this? How you pronounce mushroom dumpy? I need to get a dumpy emote. I need to. What do we got? Yeah, okay. I'm just getting it. Ah! Yeah, I got it. I want the better wand. Rather than... Ooh, is this a tree? Oh, look, it's a mushroom place again. Aw, what? Dude. Yum. Yum. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Okay. Yum. 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 Why eat the mushroom stuff? I don't know what this does. What'd it do? You love mushrooms? Whoa! Alright. Let me... that's not how maths works, is it? There you go. Ah, no! Remove liquids. I forgot that's a thing you could do. What do I have? Silver. Oh. All water turned into silver? Oh. Oh no. Why do I want silver? Why do I want this? Who wants that? Not me. Oh, look, I'm here. I'm at this fucking place. What does silver do to lava, huh? Fuck all. Does it melt? Does it Turn into molten silver. Can I even see it? Ah! I wasn't paying attention. Rude. What'd it do? Molten silver. It does turn into molten silver. What that mean, though? This do? Nothing. It burns away. Alright. Pretty. Oh well. All the ground disappeared from beneath my feet. Why can't I see anymore? Why is it so dark in here? Is it always dark in here? I don't remember. I don't remember it being dark in here. Coco, I can't save this. I don't know. I don't know how to... do I have to manually turn that off? Oh no. All of the water is now silver. How do I get water now? How do I get water? How? I don't know where I've been. Why? Why did all the water turn into silver? Or why can't I save? How are you doing, Coco? The water? Because I ate a bunch of mushrooms and it transformed all of the water into silver. I don't know why it does that. It just do. Whoa! Why did I panic so much? It's all good. I'm just drowning in blood. Hey, he drowned. Yeah. Nice. That's what I want. What do I have? Magic missile. That's made of wood. Okay, that's not the one I thought it was. What am I looking at in there? Whatever it is, it doesn't look good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Nope. Can I put myself out with silver? No. Kind of. I am stuck now, though. Shit. Hey. Ah. No. Why am I... No. Please. No, please. Ah. I thought the thing would have healed me. I haven't played this. I need to bathe in blood. I guess I do now. If... if water gets transformed, I need to bathe in blood. Note to self. Okay. Fine. I got a new record for gold? What? Alright. Again! I'm also annoyed because in the settings there's a music volume button, but there's no music really. See? Jeez. No. You can go back down. Poi. Wait, what did I have? Polymorphine. Oh, goody. Okay. Goody! Where are those music boxes? Oh, yeah. Wait, that's the... What? Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Fine. Step in it. No, maybe? Hello? Or not. You know, that too. I guess. Hmm. Whoa! Hello! I don't want to be... Okay. That was a little late of a, take cover warning. Hey, look, that mushroom survived. Fuck you! Alright. Ooh. What's this? Sand? Ow. A chest. Eh. Okay. Whoa, look at all those slots. Yeah, new magic wand. I also want all that sand to fuck off. I'm slowly being hurt. Please stop. No. Yep. Gunpowder arc? Oof. I guess. Sure. What is this? Ooh, mana. Yeah, gimme. Slurp. What does a goblin need mana for? They don't need mana. I need mana to draw me doing sus things. I don't know. Mana's a good artist and is too good for their own good. Oh, hello. No. Please. Please. I have a wife and a family. Hearing a lot of explosions. I need a man. No, mana. I need mana wyvern to draw me. I need to save the monies and I need to commission mana to draw me because I love Mana's art. Mana's so cool. Like the one they drew for you, Captain, is just mwah, chef's kiss. No, wrong way. Oh, fine, go that way. Whatever. I'm pretty sure Mana does it for the love of the game. I mean, yeah, Mana's asked if they can draw me, wait. What is the pose? I always forget this. Jacko pose. Yeah. Mana wants to draw me doing that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. I can't wait. But yeah, I don't know what, guys. I want to commission something from Mana, but Does mana have I'm so dumb. Does mana have a commission thing? Like a place to be like, come buy my art. Mana, you don't have any links on your Twitch. How dare you? Let me have a quick look. Mana, you bitch! I know you're not here, I don't think, but Mana, why? Don't think they've considered it before. Well, I mean, I know some people don't because of the like the pressure with the deadlines and stuff. It just gets to be too much for them, and all they want to do is draw and enjoy drawing, which is perfectly fine. Like, they don't want the pressure to draw. It's just, yeah, that's a cool idea, I'll do it. You know. What is this? Not damp rock. Polymorphine. Okay. Let me just piss this away. My piss is neon pink. That's not normal, right? Projectiles have a chance to fizzle out. Rude. So rude. Need water. Need this. You got him. Right. Wait, what is this one? Huh. Oh. Thank goodness. Hi, Shepherd. Too many pink monsters. I mean, I've had, too much beetroot before. That likes to turn things pink. That's kind of terrifying. Because at the time, it was kind of like a reddish pink. And I thought it was dying. Hey. Ah. Got it. How much money have I got? Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. Hey. Oh. Oh, nearly a deep fryer. Hey, there it is. Yeah. There's like a test you can do for your digestive system. That is, if you make a cupcake with blue food coloring in the cake and the icing, just have something with a lot of blue. A lot of people do cupcakes because then they test like the whole family at once to make sure everyone's gut health is good, and it's just one of those kind of yay, family bonding kind of moments. Why are we doing this? But anyway, you time how long the blue goes through your system. So I think the kind of normal time is I think around 24 hours. But yeah, so like if you think that food is either passing through you too quickly or taking way too long, you can test your gut health. Please don't die. Oh no. It's all good. I'm alive. Boomerang spells. Projectiles home back to you. Ooh, goody. Good da-da-e. That's not the one I want. This is the one I want. What is this? Worm. No! Alright. I'm alive. Genuinely, I forgot the hiccup thing was a thing. The hiccup count. Like, I have it there and no one uses it. Like, I don't know whether to make it like a channel point redeem for like 1 or something. Ah! You distracted me! I blame you, Sherlock. Hey. What we got? Whoa! Mana, polymorphine, blood. A lot of sand. Alright. Fun. I'm hurt. Thing. Ooh. Then one more thing. Oh. Good night, Sherlock. What time is it? Oh, it's okay. Bink. Bonk. The fish! I forgot about the fish. I forgot. Like the fish. Okay. What do I have? Right. Oh, nope. Not what I wanted to do. Give me that back. Give me that back. Alright. No killing the fish. I'll try. Got to deep fry this. What is that? Leafy green. Leafy greens? In the deep fryer? They'll go all wilty and gross. Ew. Okay, swap those. I guess. Alright, what do we got? Chainsaw. Sparkly bounce. Sparkly bounce. Do anything? Okay, just straight away improve ones. I mean, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take I don't remember what anything does. I mean, I may as well just take the one that's 5. Jeez. I'm gonna put... I forget where I need to put stuff. All ones in your vicinity get better. So is that not including the ones I'm holding? So if I had put them down, they would have gotten better? Rude. I didn't know. Good tool for cutting meat, also has some magical properties. So if I put that with after that, I think. No, before it? No. What? I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't remember. Whoa. Wait. Oh, it casts 2 at once? Ah. Okay. That's cool. I want this one. Right. So if I did those. I killed the fish. It's a little late, Raiders. Shuffle ones. Said. Hmm. Hmm. So what? So what do I need to do? Do I put them on this one then, and just do I? Ah, here we go. I'm learning. I'm learning slowly. Science. It's this one that scares me. So remind me not to use that one in close proximity to anything. All right. What is this? So how do I bypass the thing? Explosion. A powerful explosion. Okay. So if I did this... No. I'll need multicasts. What? Help me. Help me. What do I do? So what is damage 13, damage 3? Wait, what? Oh, wait, no, damage 5. Alright, trip. I trip out. Mushroom. Please don't change the water, please don't change the water, please don't change the water. With what you have, I can't do much. Is there a way I can leave this place without triggering the thingamabob? I don't think so. Ooh, what do I have? I'm on knockback. Ooh! Oh. No, because I'm pretty much always gonna have something. No knockback. Sure. I don't want to kill that. I want to, like, hit the floor. Ah. Hmm. I'm gonna have to destroy it, aren't I? I don't think there's a way I can leave, really. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, but why? Alright. Moment of truth. Ah! Uh-oh. Not the babies. Slime. What's that? Gold pouch? Gimme. Ah! It's a good thing I was covered in slime. Whoa! I'm rich. Fuck you. Go away. My gold. Yes. I'm rich. We're rich. Let me put in this slime. Slime is, for some reason, fire resistant. Slime is good. No gold? It is gold. Yeah. Hey. I got some. Oh. Some sheep. Uh-oh. Not the rat. Go away. Whee! Rock. There's a shuffle wand, though. Do I want rock? There's many rock. What do I want? Why not? This one? Tell me what I should do. On the left part of this layer, there's a danger zone, high risk, high reward. Is it like the is it the fungus place? I don't remember. While this is paused, I'm gonna go and grab a new drink because I have just finished my drink and I need to stay hydrated in this fucking god-awful heat. So... Wait, what? Okay. Alright, okay. Let me do this. Boom. Yeah, it's way too hot. Hi, Senna! How's it going? I'm just gonna go grab a drink. I will be right back. And then we will continue with, Noita. But I think I'm gonna replace this one. This fucking firebolt one. Right, I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. I have a Coca-Cola. I know I should be drinking water in this heat, but I'm weak. At least it's not a monster, okay? Ready? Oh. Hey. Thank you for the treat, the jam. My mini eggs are melting. Oh no. Boop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Senna, I have a fan pointed directly at my PC to try and keep it from overheating, and she struggle. Guys, it is. Thank you for the resub. Welcome in. How's it going? Did you have a good sleep? Did you have an good sleep? I'm gonna replace this one. If I did a wrong tough. Whoop. Oh, I do have water. Oh, I don't want this one. Does this affect other things? Does it confuse things? Or does it just confuse me? I love the color of it. It's so pretty. You've been doing the same. Oh no. Oh, thank you. Whoa, hello? Wait, what? Hello? Ah, panic! Hello? Whoa. Hello? Fua, thank you for the raid. Thank you. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. What were you playing? What were you doing? Octasis, welcome in. Sly and Cat and Shepherd. Hi. Welcome to Jen. Thank you for doing the shout out. It was you all along, Sly. No. For something. Hi, Tiger. Welcome in. Hi, welcome. You're playing Metal Gear Solid 3. I need to play the Metal Gear series. Raul has been wanting me to play them for like a year now. So it's on my list. Currently going through all of the Solid series. So I have okay, hang on a second. Welcome in, Raiders. If you need to raid and run, feel free to do so. If you're in the UK or anywhere, then hi, welcome. Fellow Brit, I'm too hot to think. It's too hot here. My name is Kirk. I'm British. I am I normally play the spooky game, but today thank you for the follow for let me return the favor. There we go. I never know what to say in like the raid hellos, but hi, welcome in. What was I doing? Metal Gear. That's what I was doing. Metal Gear. So I have 5 and Snake Eater. I have those 2 in my Steam family library. So I need to get the rest of them. You wish you were too hot to think? No, you don't. Yeah, Kat, that's exactly me right now. It's too hot. And I am... What is this? Hello? What, Twitch, what do you want? My gift sub has expired to somebody. Oh, okay. Thanks, Twitch. But yeah, so Metal Gear Solid is on my list, but how are you finding them? Do you enjoy them? It's all within your calculations for everyone to meet. What, to make one giant, like, Sly's VTubers kinda... It's like Sly's Angels or something. Yeah, we're playing Noita, which is a pixel finish wizard game. Where you make wands and try not to explode or die. This is gonna be bad. Uh-oh. No, don't. No. Alright. Uh-oh. No. I'm not dead yet. Not yet. Not yet. Soon. Not yet. I'm not gonna make it through there. I don't think. Maybe. Wait, is there a way around? Am I just being lazy? Oh my god. Oh, hey, please. Yay. Uh-ohs. Uh-ohs. No. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so that's
was worth the effort. Sadly, these still live. The next vote shall be mine.
Is it a what? Tis worth the effort. Sadly, thee still lives. The next vote shall be thine doom. Huh? Only 100? What? What did I... No, please. OBS, work with me here. Asta, thank you for the headpats. Go back up. Go back up and no. OBS, please. Okay. VTuber cult. I didn't say anything about a cult. I didn't didn't say anything about a cult.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch.
Okay. I have Coke, but okay. Been recommended Noita a couple times. Oh. It's hard. I'll say that much. It is hard. I have not completed this yet. I have not reached the end. And then there's more after that. So, Asta, you've been working on your masters? Whoa. That's so like responsible. You're getting more followers? Wait, what? What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Am I? Wait. 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 No, okay. Oh, Asta joined the cult. Okay. Okay, I get it. I get it. It's hot. I'm slow. I'm slower than normal. No, up. What the heck? What are you? Oh, you're the glitter goblin. Whoa. What? Thank you. Thank you, cat. What was the achievement redeem? Quack. I think it's from Tangier. Yeah, it's on Tangier. It's just called Achievement Unlocked, from what I can tell. But I used bits for it. But thank you. Thank you for the bit, Sly. I'm too slow right now at anything. What? Oh no! Thank you, Ashton. Thank you for the head patch. Get spoiled by eating very melty mini eggs.
That's a 10.
I forgot they bleed lava. I need that chest. Mini egg, yeah. I love mini eggs. I bought like, well, did I buy them? Shit. Oh. Leave me alone. Go back to your mother, wherever she is. Uh-ohs. Uh-ohs. No. Alright. I'm alive, somehow. I need to wash the oil off of me. There we go. Alright. It's fine. This is fine. They sound good. You want Cadbury? It is Cadbury chocolate. I had to grab the packet. Yeah, it's Cadbury chocolate. It's Find the rest of that packet. I like tore it in half. I'm not sharing it. Wait. Yeah. I decant my treats into like a little dish container thingy. But it's little milk chocolate eggs in a sugar shell. But because it's so hot, they are just melty inside. And so it's literally just the sugar holding all of the chocolate in. Thank you for the treat. Uh-oh. Think that's chocolate nuts. No!
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did.
A little. Alright, I was gonna say something else. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah! I owe to do my quack. Quack! No, it didn't sound right. I need to redo the thing. Quack! Kinda. It still didn't sound right. I don't know. I need that fucking chest. How do I... Oh no. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Shit. Let me out. This is not the way. No! Will you stop? No thanks. What's this one? Polymorphine? Oh no. No. Oh, what is happening? What is happening? I need to leave. Alright, I'm just gonna try my luck. Just hope for the best.
Potions.
Potion. Shun the non-believer. Shun. Gimme. Oh wait. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. Yes. Gimme. You can time people out. Yeah, you do. You do that a lot. You do it often. Oh. Oh. No. Bitch. No. No, no. Haha. Uh-oh. What do I have? Rock. Eh. Alright. Okay. Hey, rock. Okay. This is the way I can go. Nope. Alright. This is the way. Hello? What? But what? What was on my head? Get lobstered? What is that? Is that an actual thing? I think I've seen the blue lobster before, but why? 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 What? Why is he closer? Why is he closer to the screen? Oh no. Big. Thank you for the bit slide. No! Haha! No. No! Ow! Hey. More help. Now I just need something to heal me. I have plenty of money. No. Bad. No. No. Oh, what the heck? What is that? Gold? Gold? I want some gold. Gold pirate. What's this? Soil? I like... Oh, that's dangerous. I nearly died. Oh, you have a good sleep. Thank you for the raid. I will try and catch your next stream. Good night. Improve wands. Again, is that like, do I have to drop my wand for it to do that? Hey. Night night. Ah, wait. No. 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 Hey. Alright. I'm alive. I'm alive. What is that? Oh, it's so cute. So cute. Wait, I'm too cute? No. What? Good night. No. Ah. Is this polymorphine? Sure. No. Oh, wait. Isn't that... Oh, it's coal. Okay. It's fine. Alive still. Oh! Hey! You found the thing! That's a lot of coal. Alright. I think we are good to go. Whee! Oh. Right. Beep. Sticky keys! Thought I recognized that sound. Oh my god, I haven't had sticky keys since, oh god, when would that have been? I want to say Minecraft, but when, oh god, when did I last play? This. Oh god, I don't know. Probably like yeah, I was gonna say about 2016, 2017, which is terrifying to think that that's about 10 years ago. Yeah, I used to play I used to play Rainbow Six Siege with some friends. I think I played like a couple matches online and immediately hated it. So we just continued to play in our own little private lobby, just pissing each other off. Explosion of brimstone, spark bolt, critical plus, pollen, rock, rubber bolt, slime mist. That's the best, kinda. Digging bolt. Oh, I need a diggy thing. I need diggy hole. The best kind of lobby, yeah. We would do the same with COD as well. COD, Modern Warfare 2 and 3. We would just play it in private lobbies and just annoy the fuck out of each other. Gun game is always my favorite, but I'm not great at it. Maybe one day I can show you how bad my aim is. What am I? If I try and make so this will only work if it's on a non-shuffle, right? You got a group of people to play Halo? Yes. Yes. Oh god, I'm not testing this bottom one. Remind me not to do that until that's run out. I don't know how to work the fucking wands. What do we got? Dissolve powders. Sand and other soft powdery materials dissolve quickly in your presence. Alright. Tinker with wands everywhere. Yes. Alright. So can I... So no. So I want this. Alright. That's fine. I have polymorph. I do. But I just got the Tinker Everywhere thing, so does it matter? One is better than the rest? Of the things that I chose, the thingy everywhere. I'm sorry, I'm not great at reading chat before I make a decision. I'm impatient. Is it bad that that's... It just reminded me of the annoying orange. You okay, Sly? Annoying orange. One of the first VTubers. I hate that that's true. I mean, the... Does blue goes after. Dark blue goes after, right? Right? Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing. Put it on small, but for some reason it became so big. Wait, so did you try and match it to my face? Look at this. It's huge. I know it's gonna be random, but I don't. I only have one non-shuffle. You tried. You did. You did try. Ow. It's cold. Oh yeah. I didn't even get him. Eh. Please. Ow. No. Ow. 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 Oh. Hey. Ow. Whoa. Okay. Oh, yes. Rude. Oh, God. There's so many things with guns. Oh, God, please. No. Please. I'm nearly dead. Ooh, a one. Hey! If everything is launched...
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
What? Is he wearing pajamas? Was he... What? Is he wearing pajamas? Yeah?
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really, really,
I got little
really
penguins on them.
ridiculously good looking?
I love that I could just replay them whenever if I want. Like this one. Anywho, I'm about to die. It's fine. This is fine. I just need health. Fly downwards. Causes a projectile to aim straight downwards. Short time after casting. Okay. Death Cross. All right. E. Right. I guess I'll just take these. Swap this one out. And then... Ah, fuck. Shit. Put rock on thing. Put this on a thing. Can I put this on? Make rock explode. It's a bad idea.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch.
Okay, I paused though, because otherwise I'm gonna die. Did I do a bad digit? Is this gonna be bad? What did I do? Is this... Slippery. Oh, it is electrified. I'm not going down there. Oh, wait. I need to link those, I think? I don't remember... I just... Oh. Oh. It was doing a thing. Maybe? Unless I have it wrong. I don't know. Let's just blow it up. Maybe I had it wrong. Maybe I had it right. Oh, is that a rat? It blinked. You remember? No, you proud I remember? You just remember Joel? Joel? Who's Joel? What? Oh, that Joel. I remember. You proud of me, Jen? Uh oh. No, you die. Did I get the... I did... Hey. Blowing shit up. That's just gonna hurt me. Yay! What is that? That isn't good. That is no bueno. Hello? Hello? Whoa! Uh-ohs. I remember those. Those are no bueno. Oh, wait. I can throw rock. Eh. Why didn't it explode? Throw rock. Oh! That one exploded. Uh-oh. 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 Free-for-all portals? I'm sorry, what? Can you... Joel died. And then I died. Oop. No, Joel! I got so many new records though. Look it. Look it. Nice. Okay, so I have maybe 20 minutes left? Ish. So, I'm gonna try something. I wanna try something. And I'm hoping it works. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be upset. Okay, ready? What do you mean you see marbles? Oh yeah, I'm happy on Steam. Shush! No spoilers! Is it gonna... Hello? Oh, huh? What's happening? What's happening? Why is it not doing it? You're in tears? Why? What? What? Am I stupid? Why isn't this doing anything? Close that. What is happening? Why no work? Yeah, I'm telling you, it takes me a minute because it's so hot and I'm not that bright in the first place. I've never launched this before, so I I don't know if it's gonna work. Nothing's happening. Are you sure about that? Cause I don't I don't think so. I can't even get this game to work. Why? What's happening? Well, it's not game, but what? Okay, hang on. Let me come over here. Why is this not do the thing? Why does not do the thing? Why not do anything? Actually. Hmm. Okay, let's try again. Goth version of Bright. Oh. Oh. Oh, I hear noise. Oh, wait. Did it start? Wait, what start? Hey, terms of service. Please sign in. But wow. Oh wait. Yes. You are now logged in. You may close this tab. The game is waiting for you. Steam account linked. Okay. What? What? What's my file size? I don't... For marbles? Hang on, let me... Is that a pickup line for VTubers? What's your file size? What am I reading? Right. Okay. I am nearly able to join their rev share program. What the fuck? Alright. The game will launch a new web browser. Why? Why are you launching a web browser? Huh? I don't want a web... What? Okay, I don't want to. What am I have never launched this. I don't know what I'm looking at. Oh, wait. Okay. Ah, da, thing. Bloop. What is bloop? Bloop has intrigued me. Hey, okay. Play cost. Wait, what? Cost? What do you... What? None. Starting amount of plays for all players when they join. All of them. Plays for all... When max score box is hit, all players with... What? Plays less than or equal to this number... What? Wait, I don't... What? Wait... What? What? When max score box is hit, all players with less than or equal to this number. Oh, okay. So, here, uh, 69. Score maximum, all of it. I don't. What? What? I don't care. I just want to play. How do I? How we marbling? I don't know. I've never done this before. Balls. Okay. I fucked it up. Hey, is that me? No, that's gonna be. I'm guessing Sly is the one with a marble already. I don't know how to do anything. Got a naked marble? Check out the shop. Okay. Do you need the game to customize your marble? Am I surviving the hot weather? Barely. Barely. How about you, Adam? How are you, how are you surviving? I have a fan pointing at my PC, and it is still, like, I'm burning my hand on the metal around the... It's too hot! Am I losing my marbles? No, I found them. They're up there in the top left. Is anybody else joining? Just exclamation point join. And we will bloop. I don't know what this is, but we will bloop. Today has been a bit cooler. And it's supposed to get cooler again tomorrow. Apparently you wasn't sure it was working yet. I'm sorry. I didn't really say anything other than, like, make a noise. It's supposed to get warmer tomorrow? I thought it was going to be cooler tomorrow. It looks like pachinko. That's what I'm assuming. Alright. I'm going to give it another 30 seconds and then people can join if they want. Let me how do I did you get dropped from the clouds again? I don't know, maybe. Maybe Aquila Hunter? Welcome in. What is this? Oh, did you come from Fua? Did you get dragged over with the raid? Yes, Fua came in while I was playing Noita. How have I already forgotten it? And now, because there's not enough time for another Noita. Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you, Hunter. Yeah, there's not more time for another Noita run before I gotta go sleep. So I'm trying marbles. Let me pin this. There we go. To join marbles. Oh no. Cats! Thank you for the stream streak. Hopefully this doesn't break. What, your stream streak? Oh no. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna give it 10 more seconds. And then I'm gonna press go. Yeah, it is 11:23 now for me. So I got 35 minutes till midnight. Hey. Alright, let's go. I don't know. Start? No, what? How do I go? I'm confused. Go? Bloop? Wait, do I... Wait. Bloop? What? Okay, you got bloop, apparently. I'm very confused. I... Why? Okay, no. I give up. We're gonna race. Space. Viewer. Play. We didn't bloop? I know, I'm sorry. I got confused and I didn't want to... Okay, there we go. Let's do... I'm sorry. Good night, Rainers. You have a good sleep. Fucking... How do I do this? Oh my god! There we go. Okay. I don't... Yeah, there we go. Okay. What? What is... What am I looking at? Whoa, I can move... Oh, no. Okay. So how do I... Wait, can I... Oh, no. Oh, no. I can... Oh, God. Hello? What was that? What was that? Do you have a join noise, Sly? What do you mean you hope you don't lose to me? Why? Thank you, Kat, for pinning that. Okay. Uh, 50 seconds and then I'll play. I'll let everyone go. Why is there no, like, music or anything? Settings. Can I... Whoa. Colorblind mode? Cool. Music. I don't hear any. Alright. How do I, like, follow someone specific? Change my category? I did! You need to refresh to see it. Okay. So we got we got 6. Imagine nobody survives. What do you mean? Can you fall off? You Batman. What do you mean? You got a little umbrella. Oh. You got a little, like... What is that? Like a cow? Is that like a Mayan cow? Samurai Strikes are evil. Oh yeah, it's exclamation point play, Shepherd. And then I will let everybody go. He's a monkey. Is it? Looks like a little cow. Oh. See what I mean though? Oh. This is difficult to control. It looks like a little cow. How is that a cow? Because of the oh, fucking get so sensitive. The little, like, snout. It looks like a little cow snout. It's a monkey. Thank you, Hunter. It does look like a cow. All right. Start. How do I follow someone? I know I can do that. Oh. How do I... Oh. How do I... Hey! It's me! Oh, okay. Wait. Wait. Where did I go? Where did I go? Oh god. It's Sly! Here I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Whoa. Wait. Wait. No. This is bad. Oh no. There goes somebody. Oh, it was me. Maybe. I don't really know. What? Sly died? Oh, wait. Dragon, Sly, and Cat all died? Why is this the perspective? Oh no. Okay. Oh. I'm a subscriber apparently of my own. Didn't know watching marbles would be so hard. Neither did I. I'm annoyed there's no music. Oh, wait, am I gonna win? I might win. Wait, why is... What? Uh-oh, there I go. Aww. Oh, oh, oh. So bumpy. So bumpy. Wait, did Shepard win? Shepard! No, go up. I don't like the controls. They're dumb. Oh. We got first, second, and third. Yay. Oh. Oh. Hey. What? What? Huh? Huh? What is... This is weird. Why could I see so much on this? Oh, Sly. Well, I will need to look at this properly. And, race menu? I'll need to look at this properly and then... Oh my god. Royale? How? Yeah, I will need to look at this properly. Yes, quit. Leave. You got killed? Yes. Your marble got moided. Moi blood. Brain. Why? Thank you for the bit, Sly. I will look at marbles a bit better and figure out what I'm doing next time, because I thought it was going to be a bit more straightforward, and it was not. You just wanted to go on a spacewalk? Me too. I want to know how you customize the ball. Let's see, who is live? Who can I raid to? Because this is my bedtime. I'm tired. Let's see. Zombie's playing Final Fantasy. Mimu's gonna... Oh wait, no, Mimu's finishing, I think. Mimu finishing up? Are they? They've been going for 4.5 hours. That's the only reason I think they're maybe finishing up.
Hello!
Hello, Luna. Oh no, Mimu is still going.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch.
Okay. Yum. Thank you, Luna. How's it going? Wait, no, I pressed the wrong button. Fuck. Quack. Okay. Who live right now? Marbles on stream is 7 gigabytes. Is it? Seriously? Mine's saying it's 9.6. Oh no. Oh no. Why so heavy? So many marbles. People are live, but oh, we can go over to Paulo. Paulo is dressed as a shrimp, playing some Subnautica, the first one. Let's go see Apollo. Dang, no. Here's a raid message. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Bink bonk. Piss, baby. Rude. Rude. It's not piss, it's a monster. How dare you? Yes, you can use any emotes you like, and then cook right in the middle. Yeah, it's hot. I need to turn my PC off, otherwise she's gonna die. And I need to sleep. Because it is too hot to exist right now. It's pre-piss. Exactly. It's better than piss. Right? Definitely. Pee pee poo poo. Hi, Liz. How's it going? I'm about to raid out, so I'm sorry. I hope you're doing okay. Yes, everybody be good. Make good choices. Good night. Have a good time zone. Not right now, Liz. I'm sorry. Good night.